Hey everybody, welcome to Black Lotus Live, where we talk about all things strange and unusual. And today we have Anthony and Andy from Unidentified-S4. And if you haven't checked out their channel, most definitely do yourself a favor and go check it out, because it's really a great channel. And I have the link dropped in the description below. But Anthony, Andy, how are you guys doing?
Hey, we're great. I'm very good. Thanks you very much. Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be
here.
Glad
to have you. So tonight, I don't want to talk about ufology necessarily, especially modern ufology, because I'm just sick of it. You know, I mean, it's ufology seems to be no longer about UFOs. It's about other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, and all the infighting that's going on and all that stuff. I just think it's ridiculous. So I think we need to get back to the study of UFOs and find out, or at least try to find out what they are, and why they're here. Yeah. So let's talk about that. But first, Anthony, I want to talk about your upcoming movie, Extraterrestrial City. Can you tell us what that's all about and when it's going to be due out?
Sure. So primarily, I'm getting ready to invite most of the UFO channels throughout the nation, throughout the United States and abroad. Whoever wants to jump in, they could send their UFO footage to us with a clip, where they filmed it, where it was, how long the sighting was, and everything that went tail with it. And then Andy and I are going to develop it into probably like a 45-minute movie called Extraterrestrial City that we'll try to have out by the end of the year, showing everybody's really good primo footage that happened worldwide.
Cool. I was under the impression it was supposed to be about New York City.
Primarily, that was the main idea. But there's not so many people in New York that are interested in sharing their work. That's the problem we run across. There seems to be more people nationwide that want to share. So we decided to make it city, cities plural, all the cities nationwide.
Cities, yeah.
Huh.
There's still a lot of people that don't want to talk about it yet, too.
There are. And there are a lot of people that like to put it up on Facebook and Instagram in that, little 1-minute slot, and they don't even want to answer comments on the video if it was real or CGI or where they filmed it or anything like that. They just don't want to talk about it for whatever reason.
That's the frustrating bit. These 1-minute clips that don't start at the beginning or end.
Right.
You don't know where they came in and where they left. And you have no idea who sent them. You can't contact them. It's quite frustrating.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, and then a lot of them are posted without any explanation whatsoever.
Exactly.
So it's just left to you to go, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yes.
And I found, quite a few people from New York that have been posting stuff on Instagram or TikTok and reached out to them, but they just want no part in being in a documentary. So, to have it finished by this next year, we had no choice but to include all the cities. So that's where we had to go.
They'll talk to you one-on-one, but they don't like to come out and talk.
Right.
Well, that's right. Hopefully we'll get some vox pops, actually just go out and talk to people with microphones, record what they say. Right. They don't have to have their faces. They don't have to give us their name. It's just stories. Obviously, it's not proof of anything. It's just a story. But, it'd be great.
Well, and then you post it on Twitter or Facebook, and then people, you post it on Facebook or Twitter, and immediately people start ripping you up.
Right.
Oh, it's obviously CGI or da. And so I can kind of understand why people wouldn't want to post,
Sure, but we're not saying any of it. Any of the footage that we would have would say this is fact, this is proof that they're real. We've got an open mind about it, and nobody knows has any facts in UFO community.
Exactly.
That's it. Having an open mind about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. We're not saying, right, look at this. This is real. it's just, this is what we have. You make your own conclusions.
Right. Primarily, this is, what you captured. We could black out your face, put you in there, but we would like to have the actual person that took the footage, speak on it a little bit on their behalf of how they experienced it, what the weather conditions were like, and all of that.
Hmm.
Right.
Just
Kimberly,
makes it more plausible.
I cut you off, Kimberly. What were you going to say?
Yeah.
I have no idea now.
So it's usually the case. I got nothing.
If you don't give me a go, Anthony, I'm done.
I think raise your hand if you want to speak.
Right.
Wild, how's it going, man?
Yeah, right.
Hey, I'm doing really good. It's good to be here. Thank you for being here, Anthony. And what is our other guest? Our other guest? What's his name? I can't read the type. It's so small.
Who, me?
Andy.
Yes, sir. Andy.
Andy. Yeah. Hi, mate. Nice to meet you. I've
thank
watched
you
you
for being
on.
here,
I've watched you on this show a few times. Listened to you on. So,
Perfect.
But yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for being here.
Andy's my new partner in crime on the show.
Well, I'm a Gambino, so what do you expect?
Yeah. The mafia came all the way from England, and they strung on
all the way from England with most people think that when they see my name, they expect a broad New York accent or something, which I don't have, of course.
Right.
But I'm predominantly with Anthony I'm more the tech guy, really.
Right.
I do all the graphics and the videos and the like.
So you're the muscle, and he's the brain.
I'm the muscle. And he's kind of half the brains.
I like your idea for filming and getting testimony from witnesses. It reminds me of something I thought would be a good idea, which is to strategically take a trip to Phoenix, Arizona, and go to all the businesses, public areas around the path of the UFO sighting. That happened in the 90s. So I think it's possible if you go there and you stick to that area, you might talk to some people that actually saw it.
Some new people.
That never have talked about it. My friend actually did have good luck with that. So this is what happened with him. I told him this idea. He was going to a medical conference in Phoenix. So he asked his Uber driver about it. She was very young. She said she was underneath it when she was a child, and her mother was there. So she was present, and her mother was seeing it. And she said, I think something about how it was just blocking out light. That was one of the things she remembers in her child brain.
Wow.
But
yeah.
I was talking to Rich Giordano from Goof On about that, and he was in Arizona when it happened, and he swears up and down that it was just flares. He said he's not saying that there wasn't a large UFO spotted. It started here in Las Vegas in Henderson, and it flew into Arizona. He's not saying that that's not true, but he said the footage that everybody got were just flares.
It's just not. Yeah, I've heard him say that.
Right. Nobody caught the actual event on camera. It was after the fact they caught the flares. Yeah, I heard Rich say that as well. Which is a shame, because that would have been a sight to see.
It's funny because if you look at it in time, that was almost the last time we could have a mass UFO sighting without a mass recording of it as well.
Right.
That was
right.
It changed after that, so it was like one big bang.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you never know if somebody did record it, but if any government official got to them before it was released and either purchased it or confiscated it, it's possible that something was out there, but you never know.
Yeah. And who was the senator that brought out was he a senator? Brought out his assistant with an.
I think it was governor. Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Yeah, he was a governor.
Yeah.
Well, he's been interviewed relatively recently,
first.
hasn't he? I think.
Yes, he has followed up with it. Yes. And
he's saying it's not. It wasn't. I thought he said he actually saw it himself.
Yeah.
Cy Symington, I think was his name.
Yes.
And now he's denying it. I think he's denying it again now.
Oh, really? Because the last thing I heard was that he regrets the way he handled it because he actually saw it.
Right.
But you're saying you're saying that now he's gone back again?
Yeah, I saw some footage where he's sitting with someone else. I can't remember who it was. I think I'm vague on the facts, I'm afraid, but as far as I'm aware, he is now saying that he didn't see anything. But I may be wrong, so don't quote me on this.
Yeah, the last one I seen is when he was sitting down with, I believe it was the lieutenant governor.
Oh, that might be it then. Isn't that where he said it wasn't?
That's where he said he's seen it, but he initially denied seeing it. I think
maybe I got that wrong. Maybe I got that wrong then. So he's still admitting that he did see it, basically.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
He changed his original story to "I didn't see anything" to he was having dinner with his family and right. Yeah, he brought the alien out handcuffed.
He said too. This is for his defense. I believe he said these statements to James Fox in his movie about the Phoenix Lights. So I think he said that at the time he was scared. And he did reach out for help. He wanted to address it, but he was like stonewalled by the military. Mm-hmm. They completely abandoned him, left him high and dry. And so his panic brain was like, what am I going to do now? Let me try this horrible idea to calm everybody down. And it backfired on him.
Yeah. That's the problem with these government officials. When something like that happens, the first thing they should do is go out and tell the truth. Because it's always going to come back to bite you in the ass with all the technology we have now. So,
right, because you're going to look like a liar.
Right. So you're better off just coming out and saying what happened, no matter what, with the cause and effect by the public. You still have to. You're there to serve the people, so you have to be forthcoming with information.
I actually learned a really good life lesson from the way the military handled the Phoenix Lights case, and also from the way they handled the Roswell case. Okay, so. If you ever want to get away with something, okay, let's say something happened in your life, let's say a crime, and you want to get away with it, okay, all you got to do is just scoop up all the evidence of what you did. Come up.
I'm writing this down. Okay.
Get all the evidence up. Make sure there's nothing there. Clean it up. Then come up with a really good plan, a really good cover-up for what happened, but it doesn't involve you, okay? So let's say the crime was like, you crashed a car. You could just say it was a weather balloon. You could say it was just some flares, Then
it wasn't me. It was the weather balloon.
It was a weather balloon. Then you have to come forward and present your evidence. Address the claims being made against you.
Yeah.
But give them this perfect story that's really neat and tidy. There's no evidence, and then you walk away from it. You're just like, look. I admit it happened. I admit something happened, but it was flares that ran into that Burger King parking lot. And, there's no evidence.
You would have to have that story nailed down pat to get that to work.
I've done that. I'm saying I've done that.
Really?
In my life, and I got away with it.
Oh, damn.
So.
He confessed, Andy. I'm going to lock him up now. He confessed.
I paid my dues.
Was a cop, by the way.
I can't be inside a Burger King anymore, but that's okay. I never liked them anyway.
That was actually my first job, by the way. I worked at Burger King.
So, oh, wow.
Yeah. What an odd chain of events this was.
I don't know. Presidents have been doing that for years, man.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah. Well, you know what gets me about UFO sightings today, as opposed to the past? I mean, we've got some amazing photos from the 50s and 60s. Yes. And what have we got today? Blurry, blurry sort of orbs and things. We're not really seeing a great deal.
Right. With some of the best technology, mind you, we got the worst
technology. I mean, we should all go back to brownie cameras. Yeah, we should go back to film 35mm cameras that seem to take the best photos, apparently.
Well, Andy, you're 100% right. And I could tell you, and you're right about everything you said. Basically, you're right that our photos are worse now. And you're right that we should go back to film, because I think the reason why they were better was because you were on film. Film it has a lot more data in it, a lot more clarity than any electronic photograph. And that's all that people use now. They use electric photograph. Yes.
Well,
yes.
Normally phones can only take a certain distance before.
Exactly.
it's still distorted.
You need a lens like this long at least to get a decent
And you need
picture.
to be standing waiting for something to happen, okay, because one of these big cameras is just crazy. But 35mm film, can't beat it. I used to have a dark room and everything. I used to love doing photography. But
oh, nice. So you had a 35mm like still photography or a movie?
Yeah. What was it? A Pentax ME Super was my baby. We're talking sort of the late 80s, early 90s. I was developing my own film and hand tinting them and making them look great. So, but yeah, I just love the whole process of developing film and working with film. Now, it's all digital now. It's very simple.
Well, one of the problems is that people try to take videos of these things and nobody can seem to hold the camera steady.
Right, because they're using the cell phone. That's the problem.
Because I guess it's a shock, a surprise.
People.
It's like, oh, look at that. And they're maybe nervous or
trying to zoom in on the screen
or something.
and pull back and all of that. Yeah, drunk, exactly. Yeah. you nailed it.
I mentioned this topic earlier, and these are all problems with ufology and taking photographs today. But there is a solution that just came out on the market. It's a little expensive, so we need to wait for it to get cheaper for everybody to have it. But you can now buy a 360 camera. Okay, so basically, this is a camera you can put on your head or something. It's a video camera. It's high definition. But what you could do if you really wanted to catch UFO activity or Bigfoot activity, you turn it on. And you make sure you have a big enough memory card, it'll take high definition video of every single angle around you.
That is amazing.
Wow.
You could even put on like VR goggles with that footage, and you could move around like you're in the scene.
Wow.
Recreate the
I want one. I want one.
I want one too.
How expensive are they then?
I believe it's less than $1,000, but maybe up to $500 for it. Yeah.
Oh, so Anthony, you get 5.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, GoPro makes a model. I think it's called a 360.
Really?
Basically, yeah.
Really?
GoPro 360. Yeah.
You have to get that.
I love technology. I really do.
Me too.
I'm Gen X, and I came up before all of this stuff. And that was back during the time when we thought Pong was the coolest video game out there. And I just love that I'm old enough to be able to see how technology has advanced, and it's only going further. I mean, it's nonstop now. Yeah,
I started with a ZX80 and then a Commodore 64, BBC Micro.
Yeah.
I had all the home computers in the 80s. And watching a drawing of a Coca-Cola can, which I thought was amazing. It took like 2 hours, just line by line. Wow, doesn't that look amazing? Like, no, not anymore. It looks absolutely awful.
Those early days of my dad's a computer scientist, so I grew up in the early days of the personal computer. That's a magical time that it can't be recreated anymore. That technology was so new, and it really was mind blowing.
It was.
It really was.
Absolutely, yeah. Music technology as well in the 80s. Lots of synthesized bands, new synthesizers and stuff were coming out. I'm into music as well, so for me it was amazing. That the 80s were great for that, for sure. Not for fashion, but for technology.
But the problem with
look at some of the stuff they're wearing now.
It all comes back. Comes back.
Yeah, these days, anything goes from every decade. It seems now.
Yep. Now the fanny pack is very good, and I actually call it a science pack, so people don't make fun of me. So I put my science things in there. It's good.
Yeah. They became fashionable again recently. Well, in the last few years again in the UK. I don't know about the States.
Really?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people go to raves.
I used to wear one when I would go out in plain clothes. I would have my gun in there, my badge, my cuffs. It was like the best thing to have.
Oh, really? So when you wanted to stop somebody, you'd have to whip it round to your front, unzip it. Wait. It's quicker to have a holster, surely. But
I used to work. They used to send us into nightclubs in the beginning to buy drugs, and you would have to have everything concealed, and it was the best to conceal everything. So
yeah.
This is funny. I'm imagining myself. Okay, I have my hand inside my fanny pack around the gun, and then the zipper is kind of open. I just walk around like this.
Yeah.
When I see danger, I just unload from my
it right out. That's it, man.
And pull out your chapstick.
Yeah, with the other hand,
But talking about technology and how it's changed, the dark cloud around that is that it makes it easier for people to hoax things like UFOs.
And that's a shame.
And it is a shame, I mean, and it makes it tough for people who are actually really trying to investigate this stuff and come up with conclusions about the stuff when there's these idiots out there that are posting this kind of crap,
Yeah.
And even the really good CGI ones, the ones that people are like, well, I don't know that it's CGI. It looks real to me. Yeah. And it turns out to be a hoax.
Yeah, I can't seem to wrap my head around.
Makes everything that's true hard to believe.
Right, exactly.
Our stories,
difficult
everything.
for the UFO community. Yeah, it just makes it so much more difficult. Now, I guess a lot of it's just kids having fun learning technology themselves. Learning how to manipulate CGI themselves, and think, oh, that's really good. Let's put it out on TikTok and say it's real.
Too. It's definitely older.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there's some misinformation agents that may be doing stuff like that as well. But
what's sad is they get like 1 million views on some of these videos.
Yeah.
And then you got the real footage out there, and you're lucky if it gets 40 views. That's the sad part.
Right, exactly.
That's the sad part.
It sounds like as ufologists, as UFO researchers, what we got to do is step up our game and then learn techniques of how to spot fakes. Now, that's interesting because there's a really fun show that just came out on YouTube called Visual Artists React. The channel is called Corridor Digital. So it's a very entertaining channel, but it's all about digital artists. These guys are CG artists. So they just released 2 episodes where they examine all these paranormal and UFO videos. And because they're digital effect experts, they go through everything, like how to spot that this is fake, how to analyze everything. So they're actually teaching people how to.
Isn't that what Nick West does? Kind of.
It is what Mick West does. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was like, look, it's like Mick West, but a lot more funny, like a lot more entertaining.
What's it called again?
Okay, so the channel's called Corridor Digital, and the show is called VFX Artists React.
I'll find it. Yeah, sounds good. Something right up my alley.
Goofon's really good at identifying stuff.
Oh, yeah. He's a whiz.
He's got a good eye. Yeah.
Very good eye.
Yeah.
What is it? What are everybody's thought on Mick West now that we brought him up? What about you, Andy? Could you go first?
We need him.
Okay. I agree.
I think he does a great job. We need
Very
people
talented.
like him.
Yep,
He's not one of these annoying debunkers who just doesn't do any sort of research and just says, oh yeah, that's a balloon. He actually uses technology to either debunk or to scratch his head and say, I don't know what it is. So yeah, we need him.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we need more people out there like that.
And he's a nice guy.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that. I see both sides of Mick West. He was on butt stuff, collecting his probe award.
Golden Probe Award, that's right, yeah.
Making light of things and having fun with everybody. And then he's got a serious side in ufology, which is awesome. That's a guy I could relate to. And that's a guy I could work with. Definitely.
That Golden Probe show was brilliant.
Yeah.
They're too much, those girls, man.
It's the funniest was Cambion.
No more passes. He's a trip.
He just goes crazy and crazy. It's so funny.
He's a trip.
Yeah. So Anthony, have either one of you ever seen a UFO?
I have, yes.
I don't know if I did, but I haven't really had any experiences really. I've just been fascinated.
Spill the beans, Andy.
That's all I can do. Beans, I've been fascinated since von Daniken and since the late 70s, and when Communion came out and stuff. So I've just always been fascinated and looked into it for years and years. But I've never. I'm a want-a believer, but I've not experienced anything. Whereas your man here, he's seen quite a few. In fact, he's got how many videos you've filmed?
Well, I'm out in the field how many hours a day? Like I live outside practically filming. I don't go anywhere without 2 cameras all the time. So
yeah,
bound to catch something. Just the other night here at the new house.
Experiencer, Anthony?
Yeah. I started when I was 13. I had my first actual experience. I've told it before when I was in the woods, dirt bike riding,
Yeah.
Yes.
and I stopped for gas, and that triangular craft, TR3B, I guess we call it now, came in, and it stopped above me, and I was staring at it. It looked like a sheet of black glass, and shortly after that, the second one flew over it, and they sat side by side, and I had a bunch of missing time. I lost about 5 hours. It went from about 12 o'clock in the afternoon to 5 o'clock at night. I snapped out of it, pretty much the same spot I was in, and my parents and sister were in the woods looking for me because I never came home. And that was my first experience. And
I remember you telling us about that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And I'm still of the opinion that you were taken. You know.
Yeah, I mean, to miss time
I
like
think so,
that
too.
and not remember anything was mind-boggling to me. And you know, it
Especially for
chewed
that
at my
amount of time.
mind. Yeah, it chewed
Do
at
you
my
remember
mind
what the
for a
weather was
long time.
like at all?
It was summertime.
Anthony?
It was summertime. Yeah, it was beautiful out. Yeah, beautiful sunny day.
I don't think weather is a real big deal on anything, actually.
Well,
That's
no,
what I've
because if he
noticed.
said he had missing time, whether he felt when he came to, was he cold? Was he warm?
Well, it was getting dark. It
Right.
was, you know, the sun was bright afternoon when I was dirt bike riding. And I stopped. It was just nearly 12 in the afternoon, so it was, you know, the brightest time of the day. And then 5 o'clock rolled around, and you know, it's starting to get into that. The sun's starting to get lower, so immediately I knew something was off. A
How
moment or
do you
two
say?
after,
What was it? How long was the missing time? You say?
almost about 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Anthony, I have a hypothesis, a possible explanation for what causes missing time. I could tell you, maybe it'll give you something to think about since you experienced 5 hours of missing time. I think one reason why you might have missing time is because UFOs, you know, the craft, whatever they are, they may give off a lot of energy around them, and they may give off enough energy to create what's called a time dilation. So we know time dilation is a real phenomenon. We know that one of the ways to induce time dilation is by having a very, very large amount of energy. The other way to do it is to travel close to the speed of light, as close as you can get. Well, this is what happens in time dilation. If you're experiencing time dilation, basically time will act differently to you compared to everybody who's not experiencing time dilation. The way it manifests itself is it could be that you were just standing there for 10 minutes in your time. But because you're experiencing time dilation, because of the energy given off by the craft, you would jump. It would feel like you're jumping forward 5 hours. That's one possible explanation.
I've heard that before. Yeah, I've heard that before.
So like a time loop or a time lapse?
Yeah, it's a time lapse. Time lapse is a good way to describe it. Yes.
So you think traveling through almost at the speed of light would have given you that missing time situation?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I guess, but that's true. Okay, that can happen. So let me expand on that. So like that happens with satellites. Okay, so we have satellites that are traveling in the Earth's orbit, and they're traveling so fast, like faster than a lot of things, that they experience a little bit of time dilation. So that means that we have a clock on Earth and we have a clock on the satellites because they're communicating with us. Well, that clock is it's off from our clock. Because it's experiencing just a tiny amount of time dilation, you know, maybe fractions of a second.
Yeah.
So we know time dilation happens. So that is one way by traveling really fast. But what I think is happening with Anthony's case is that he's a witness to a UFO craft, right? So I believe the UFO craft could be just two UFO craft. Yeah, even better. I believe they could be discharging energy, very, very large amounts of energy. And that's the other way to get time dilation is by having so much energy in one place that you're bending space and time. And so you could just be standing still. If you're in a field of very, very high energy, then you're kind of like in a time machine going into the future. Now the bending
like
of space
distortion.
and time. Yes, it's a distortion in space and time. Yeah. That's what happens when you're going really fast as well. When you're going really fast, you are bending space and time.
Bending space, right. like
Yeah.
a wave
So
in the
what
ocean.
kind of
like a
energy is
wave.
it? What kind of energy? Are you talking like magnetic energy or
Probably
some other?
black matter or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different energies like that could do it. Like for instance, one way of looking about it is like you would need enough fuel, the amount of fuel to produce this energy, maybe the size of Jupiter. You know, imagine
Wow.
Jupiter is all made of fuel. Okay, so if you have a discharge, now that is ridiculous. That is a lot of energy, but we don't know anything about these craft. What if these craft have found a way? I think they need some kind of energy source to do what they do, right?
Yeah.
So my guess is perhaps they're running the engine, and the engine is giving a discharge, perhaps in the form of heat or something that doesn't hurt us physically, you know. But it is still a lot of concentrated energy, some kind of energetic discharge from the engine. That's just one hypothesis.
And it makes sense. But I've watched one show. This woman was sitting out on her back deck with her new boyfriend. They had moved into a house, and a triangular craft flew over, and she had missing time. That story resonated with me to a T. That's exactly how I remember, just like that.
Ralph and I had a case of missing time once, but he and I also, we talked to Tony Rodriguez, who was a man who claims that he was part of the 20 and Back program. And so what he's saying is that he was taken and he lived for 20 years on another planet, pretty much as a slave. And then he was taken back, and he was taken originally when he was like 10 years old. And he was taken, and then after his 20 years of service were up, they brought him back to his 10-year-old self.
Wow.
So if they regression, yeah.
I mean, if they can do that, why is there missing time? You know?
Yeah. That's
the same thing to Al Bielek.
Kind of paradox there, right?
Maybe they have to put you back at your same age and all of that, so there isn't like a paradox.
Well, I think another explanation.
Like a time travel back.
I think another explanation could be that. I also wanted to mention, Andy, that high amounts of magnetic energy can also create time dilation. You know, perhaps it could be just sometimes it could be just an unintended side effect. For instance, I believe Damien and Ralph had missing time, and they were just driving in a vehicle. Okay, so perhaps there's a craft. The craft doesn't even care about, you know,
just passing through.
Just passing through, doesn't care about you. But because it flies over them, as an unintended consequence, is giving off a heavy magnetic field. You get caught in it long enough for you to leap forward in time.
I love the whole missing time. There's so many stories about that, isn't there, as well?
Let me ask you guys this. Have you ever been driving in a car it could be anywhere, somewhere you've never been to before, and all of a sudden you snap out of like a fog and you're there, right? You don't know how you got there, how you didn't hit anything. You just know you got there. Now, to me, that happens to almost everybody, right? To me, that sounds like being taken.
Yes.
No?
Yeah. And I wonder, neither Ralph nor myself remember anything about being taken. We just remember that the missing time situation.
How much time was it? How much time was missing?
About 2 hours or so.
Right.
Did you say?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You were both awake at the time.
Oh yeah. We went out to see his friend in Oceanside.
I was just going to say
Oceanside, Southern California, and we were both. And to get there from Claremont took about 2.5 hours. So we went out there and saw his friend, and we left during the evening. And so it should have taken us 2.5 hours to get back. But I mean, we weren't really talking. We were just like listening to the radio, and that fast we were back in Claremont.
Wow.
And so it should have taken us a good 2.5 hours, but I think it only took. I mean, we missed about 2 hours of time. I'm thinking.
That's wild.
That story about is it in Australia? The guy that was flying and he flew through a vortex. And
that was in Miami,
Florida.
I know. I was just going to bring that up.
Oh, go on, go for it.
No, he was flying. I think it was him and his dad or was flying, and it was like he was flying through a tunnel, and I think he was going to Miami, and it was supposed to take him so much amount of time, and it was like he got there way faster than what he should have, but he was in this tunnel like a fog, and it just surrounded him. It was like it was really
circular
weird,
to the cloud system.
To reenact that again. Yeah,
because he still had enough. He hadn't even used half the fuel, which he was expecting to use as well.
Right.
Wow. When some people say it was kind of it was kind of some kind of air current that he must have gone on, which would have, gotten there quicker and things like that. I mean,
I don't buy that.
But a current is going to be surround you like that, like the tunnel.
Right, like a tunnel. Right.
Yeah.
I'm more on like Wild Tree's theory with that.
Yeah, because
situation like that. Well, Wild Trees was saying
it was like a wormhole, is what he sounded like.
Yeah.
Well, he was going through the Devil's Triangle, right?
Right.
I think
Bermuda.
so. Yeah, if I recall.
For the Bermuda Triangle, right?
Yeah, that sounds like
happened with the army pilots that went missing over there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
The five
airplanes.
Airplanes from the army squadron that went missing over there that were never found. Right.
And then the search party went missing as well, right?
Right.
Anthony, what you were saying about how you feel. I talked to a UFO witness. His name is John. Wreaking Havoc. He's on one of our earliest episodes.
It sounds so familiar.
Yeah, John from Wreaking Havoc. But he was an abductee, and he told me, I believe, I don't know if it was on his show personally, but he told me he remembers being abducted while he was awake when he was a young boy in his bedroom. He saw the gray alien in his window. But he recalled another time. He told me that after that abduction, he was suddenly, all he remembered is he's suddenly outside talking to his friend. And he's like mid-sentence, but he has no memory before that. He's almost like he just woke up his eyes and he was in this whole new scenario.
That's fascinating.
So he does think that's associated with, it has something to do with the abduction experience. And that sounds exactly like what you said. The other interesting thing is, I don't think I've ever experienced that. But I know people that have, like you and my friend John. So perhaps it is common, but
I think it's very common. I think the whole abduction experience is common. I think it happens to everybody, but some people record missing time. Some people remember the whole event. Some remember portions of the event, and then I think some people just don't remember anything at all. Like you were taken and put back perfectly, but then on other times you're taken and there's a little mishap when they put you back. So you remember the missing time portion, or you remember being on the craft. That's how I devised it, like that.
I think that I've been abducted many times in my life.
What they want you to.
And the reason I think that is, and I've just recently come to this conclusion because I was talking to somebody and she was telling me, she works with abductees, and she was telling me, just because you remember that one event doesn't mean you haven't been taken since you were probably about 5 years old.
Well, that's the theory, isn't it? That you start off as a child.
Right.
Yeah. And
have you ever had, sorry to interrupt, but have you ever had regression?
That
Hypnotic regression. Have you ever had
no,
that?
I have never done that. No. There's very few people I trust in that field.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that I do trust are very, very expensive. So I'm kind of cheap. I don't want to spend money.
We all are.
But I remembered, I recalled what happened to me in 1995, but the event didn't actually happen back in 1988. So for all that time, I didn't remember any of this. And then one day I was triggered and I remembered the whole thing.
That's wild.
But I also remember, for instance, being about 10 years old and walking past a cow pasture with my mom, which would be totally out of place for my mom to be because she was a businesswoman. She wouldn't be caught dead near a cow pasture. But we were walking along, and over the cow pasture, there was a silver disc. And I asked my mom, "What's that?" And she says, "It's nothing, never mind." And she grabbed my hand and we briskly walked away. And it's just a flash memory like that. I don't remember anything else about this situation. But
did your mother? Did you ask your mother about it at the time or afterwards?
Well, just at that time, I remember asking her, "What is that?" And she says, "Never mind," you know. So, and then I think, personally, I think that Ralph and I were taken when we had that missing time, but neither one of us can remember anything about it other than the missing time. So I think it happens repeatedly with abductees, always, you know, and it's rarely ever a one-shot event, you know.
Well, I told you about that dream I had a couple of weeks ago, and the more I, thinking about it, the more Andy and I were just talking about it the other day while we were working, and he was saying, "You were probably abducted." And I said, "That's exactly what Damien told me." And on the show last time, and I'm starting to think more and more that dream was so real. I felt physically being touched and my hand being taken, and I remember what their fingers felt like, and I remember the touch of their skin, and I remember all of that. And I'm one of those. I dream all the time, but I don't remember feeling anything in my dreams. The only thing I remember from dreams is sometimes you have a dream where you're flying, and you get that tickle in your stomach, and it's so exciting. You know, I've had those experiences, but never where I remember the exact
feel the touch of something
grip
in a
and
dream.
what the skin felt like and all that. Yeah.
What did the skin feel like, Anthony?
Like leather.
Leather, huh? I thought the ones that I encountered, their skin felt like almost like plasticine, you know. So I remember that distinctly, you know.
But sorry, when did you feel that? When did you have that feeling of plasticine?
It was during the abduction in 1988.
Okay.
So.
Wow.
I wanted to say bonded leather, not like alligator leather, like like a couch you buy that they say is leather, but it's like pleather. You know that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like that kind of leather, not hard leather, very soft. You know, like a recliner chair type leather.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
Did you get the impression that the way they appeared to you was actually not their bodies, but like a bodysuit?
No, it was. I think it was their form. They weren't wearing any clothing.
Yeah.
But I've heard that some people have seen aliens. They have like a protective suit for our atmosphere, our environment, or something.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Or they're into S&M. I don't know.
Any thoughts on that, Kimberly?
Yeah, Kimberly, have you ever seen the texture of an alien? I know you've had your encounters with
I had to change out batteries. I'm sorry,
No
what was that?
Oh, have you ever? We were talking about different textures of aliens. The skin texture. Do you remember what your skin texture of your aliens are that you have interacted with?
Yeah, I did ask. The only question that I ever asked when I was taken was if I touched him, could I touch their face? But I didn't want to get sick if I did. So he allowed me to touch his face, and it was like super fine grid sandpaper.
Whoa. Maybe a different species then.
Really fine grid sandpaper.
Right.
Whoa.
The guys I seen in my dream were gigantic.
But for some reason, I knew to ask.
Tall.
I knew to ask for some reason, because I know that they secrete through their skin.
Okay.
So I was like knowledgeable enough to ask ahead of time, if I touch you, am I going to get sick? So I did remember that.
That's very smart.
Were any of you ever taken by the hand by them? Like I remember in my dream?
I've felt an invisible hand touch me while I was awake. So it's not at all related. But I guess the only thing I have in common with you is that something paranormal has touched my hand. but it was different circumstances. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a spirit, honestly.
Well, there's a lot more discussion about the fact that, you know, for a long time nobody considered the UFOs as part of the paranormal, but now but they are paranormal, right? They're not normal. We don't know what they are. Same as ghosts.
I got confused when people would talk to me about like UFOs are different than paranormal. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's paranormal. That's the term, isn't it? They're not normal. It's not a normal event.
But how is it not normal?
Well, paranormal meaning unexplained, I think.
Yes, I'm not saying not normal, but the term paranormal, when we say about ghosts, it's like, you know, you see
that's an umbrella for everything that nobody knows the exact, terminology.
Absolutely, as are UFOs.
I blame television.
Okay.
I blame these reality shows on television because the title of it is paranormal. You automatically assume it's going to be about ghosts.
Yes.
Unless it says UFOs, it's, you know, so.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But there was a time when it was all under the paranormal umbrella, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, I think the TV, they like to franchise things, don't they? So,
right.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the paranormal, by the way. I mean,
I love ghost stories
and cryptids. I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my definition of the paranormal, the way I look at it is, I believe it's the very, very, it's right beyond our limits of understanding of the world around us. You know, it's impossible for us to know everything. So there will always be a limit where we just don't know. We're not at that point. That will always exist. And I believe that's where the paranormal is. It's just right on the other side of what we understand. So there is no description. There is no widely believed and agreed upon explanation for what we're experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I've also heard recently that there could be other beings that are right in front of us, but we don't see them because they're in a different dimension. And
I love that idea.
With frequencies, is it, Kimberly? Do you know about the frequency thing? I'm a bit vague about that.
I'm very curious to know
that everything vibrates on a different frequency, you know. And there was a lady in here in Ohio that seen something. She was out hunting, and her last name was Maccabee, and she was out hunting, and she seen something that looked like fluid, but no physical form. This is a different frequency, you know. They're able to cloak. They're able to take them. Just because we are accustomed to seeing each other or things on a visual, you know, hardcore body level or some sort of form, that doesn't mean that everything is taken on that, you know, everywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's been going on forever. And I think that's where we get stories about elves and fairies.
Yeah.
I
got to say, I agree 100%. I love the idea, and I think there's some validity to it. And as a biologist, I'm very excited by the idea that we're currently surrounded by so many different organisms that we simply cannot perceive. We just cannot perceive. Now, I have a real-world example. That actually does happen because I study moss. Moss is a primitive plant, one of the oldest plants on the planet. Moss grows everywhere on the side of buildings like carpet. It grows on trees, on rocks. But inside the moss, you wouldn't know this if you don't think about it, but I study the animals that live in moss specifically.
Wow.
And it's like a rainforest of animals. There are top predators. There's scary looking predators. There's animals that if they were the size of a car would terrify you. These predators, There's just one thing called a rotifer. There's two varieties. There's a really dopey variety, but there's this crazy predatory one. So these are actually underwater animals, okay? So because what happens with the moss is like a sponge. So when it rains, these animals come out of a hibernative state, and they're so tiny, they're completely surrounded in water. So it's like an ocean. So they're aquatic animals. So there's this one rotifer. Okay, it's really funny because there's one version of rotifer that's like innocent. This is what it looks like. It looks like an inchworm that has two little feet at the end of it. And it kind of looks like an eggplant. So imagine an eggplant that's on the ground, and it just inches around, and it's got these two little feet, okay? Super pathetic looking, right? Well, there's this other variety that what it does instead is it actually can fly around gracefully all over the ocean, all over the water, and its mouth opens up like a predator, like into 3 or 5 seconds.
Shit.
And it has a fan. It has a spinning sawtooth in the middle.
Wow.
And it is incredibly predatory. It is
That's
scary.
amazing.
So my point is that that there is an invisible world right there. We cannot perceive it because it's too tiny. So we already know what happens. We know that our perceptions limit our awareness of other organisms.
So that very well could be happening up in our atmosphere in the air as well.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, there could well be.
And some of these things that we film could very well be us getting sightings on the right IR setting or something biological living in the atmosphere, reflecting light, bioluminescence in the atmosphere or something.
Absolutely.
Along those lines.
There was this. I was listening to this. I can't remember his name. He was an explorer, and he says, "Why do we want to bother with space? There are millions and millions of species on this planet we've never seen before. You know, microscopic animals. Why aren't we exploring that? The same as the sea. Why aren't we exploring that? There's so much to explore on this planet, yet we're trying to look into space all the time."
Well, I think we are, and we're discovering new species all the time, you know. And so that's why I don't discredit anybody who says that they've seen a cryptid, you know, like Bigfoot or what have you. I don't discredit them because, I mean, these things could very well exist, I think. I've never seen one,
without a doubt.
You know. So,
I'm convinced that Bigfoot's a real thing. That
how do they hide? How do they hide so well? I mean, I know the theory about the fact that they could be part extraterrestrial or they can enter dimensions and things like that.
I'm gonna give you some homework. I'm friends with a guy by the name of Todd Standing from Canada.
I know Todd Standing. Well, I know of this. I've seen his movie. He's got a movie on Netflix, doesn't he?
Right. Now, people said that he was a hoaxer in this, but he took out Survivor Man. He took out the late Dr. Bendenagel. He took out the I forget the guy's name that he studies like the feet imprint of primates. His name escapes me. That doctor.
I know him. Yeah.
But all those guys, he took them all out, and they all experienced a Bigfoot. And these things are so massive, but they're able to duck down and hide and blend themselves into the forest in a way. If they were standing right in front of you, you wouldn't even notice it. However, he got it on actual film. This thing had to be about 9.5 foot tall. It stood up and then it squatted down. And when it squatted down, it was in a clearing. You could not see the thing at all. And you knew where it squatted down and you couldn't see it. And the camera's right on it. I mean, if you want to see some fascinating Bigfoot
I think
stuff,
I've seen that footage, right?
go check out Todd because unbelievable.
Yeah, I think that Bigfoot, the way, you know, an explanation for what you asked, Andy, why haven't we seen him? I believe they're like, this isn't doing it justice. I'm trying to come up with like an analogy, but imagine there was a race of people that lived in the woods, but they had lived there for hundreds of thousands of years, and they were super experts about living in the woods. They knew everything about living in the woods. They knew how to climb trees. They also had a body that was very muscular and built specifically for power, speed, climbing. So if these people live in the woods and you said, hey, you were talking to them, you said, hey, go live in the woods for 30 years and we're going to try to catch you. Okay. If they have the brains, you know, they're smart. They're actively trying to avoid those people. Yeah. I think unless you're as good as they are, you're not going to be able to catch them.
Well, I've heard that maybe they were here before we were.
Well, not even that. You know?
We kind of wiped them out, or you know, through deforestation and things like that.
Like Wild Trees was saying, we're the masters of basically civilization. They're the masters of the forest. So good luck trying to catch something like that if it doesn't want to be caught. And they're so far out there. They probably keep their family and everything in places people wouldn't even think to go.
Well, and that's what I've said. You know, North America and Canada has such dense forests there that, I mean, I can see a whole tribe of these things.
Yeah,
Alaska, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Todd
I mean,
was
I
talking-
can see how they can hide.
The guy Todd was talking a good 4.5, 5-day hike just to get to the spot to where they could be. That's how many days sometimes he walks a week straight into the forest to get to his spot. So just imagine how many miles into the woods where there's no roads that
There
these guys are going.
was a good show called it was last year, I think, something Bigfoot. Oh,
Expedition
Bigfoot. I don't know if anyone's seen that. That's pretty fascinating. Some of the footage.
That was a good show. I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, well, there was 2 seasons, I believe. Maybe they're making another one now. Who can say? But yeah, that was very good.
Real quick, I want to give a shout out to all of our moderators. We really appreciate you being here. You're doing a great job. In fact, Anthony is one of our moderators.
I was just going to say thank you when you were done.
Are you doing your job, Anthony?
I am. I'm actually, I'm in the chat working while we're here.
Well done.
But I think we're going to wrap it up for the night. I want to say to all of our viewers, thank you for watching. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And please share it around. And when you do hit subscribe, make sure you hit that little bell so you get notifications whenever we do this. And we do this every Sunday and Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern.
1 a.m. UK time.
Yeah, you got to be drifting off to sleep here, man. Anyway, yeah.
I was going to say we should definitely have you guys back. I feel like we could talk for another 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
I know it. Yeah,
It went really smoothly. We're just tripping off the tongue. It's been really good. Really enjoyed myself.
I love coming on. It's a great show. I enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, viewers, again, I mentioned this at the top of the show, but there is a link to Unidentified-S4. And you need to go check that thing out. He's got some great videos on there. But anyway, yeah, we are going to get out of here. Folks, thanks a lot for watching again. And until next time, keep thinking and question everything.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you for having us.